Jon, great to have in the programme tonight. It's fair to say, isn't it, that a lot of people didn't think this was likely. It was always a possibility, but many commentators thought a mistrial was the most likely outcome. Evening.
Yeah, good evening, Ben. I mean, of course, it's possible. Everything is possible when it's up to a jury. But Donald Trump has been judged by 12 of his peers, the legal tradition of the United States and the UK, and on all counts, all 34 felony counts, criminal counts against him, the 12 men and women have found him guilty of falsifying his accounts in relation to the hush money payment paid to the porn star Stormy Daniels. This has never happened in US history before. An ex-president now has a criminal record. He is a convicted felon. And that is momentous. And you kind of need to pause and take breath that this has happened. But equally, in answer to your questions that you posed just after the summary about surely this means the end of his career, surely this might mean that his political fortunes are over, can he regain the Oval Office? I would say none of that is clear. I think that Donald Trump has managed to fashion this into this is a witch hunt, this is the Biden Justice Department coming after me. He's still a player in November's election.
This won't rule him out in any way, shape or form, Jon, in your view?
No, not at all.
Wow.
Not at all. I think his supporters will stay solid. I think that there will be some on the margins who will say, yeah, but there were an awful lot of people who thought this was a kind of slightly jumped up charge, that it was a kind of minor offence. Look, he wasn't on trial for having an illicit relationship with Stormy Daniels. He wasn't on trial for the hush money payment. That was agreed. There had been a payment. It was the way he accounted for it and whether it should have been an election expense. And people say, come on, that's a misdemeanor. That's a kind of accounting error when you're doing your annual return to the Inland Revenue and you put something in the wrong box. And they were saying that it should never have got to that. In Trump land, that's certainly what they're arguing. And they're saying it's a political got-up trial. That said, it went through the normal court process. There was a judge who presided. There were 12 jurors, and they have found him guilty on all counts.
Jon, just briefly, if you would, because I want to hear from Donald Trump. He's been speaking. Is there a world, given what you're saying, in which actually this helps Donald Trump? It proves the points that he's making, that he is the victim of an establishment stitch-up?
Ben, I spent 4 years in Washington, confounded by what I saw every day of the Trump presidency and thinking, well, this surely he can't emerge from this. Surely this is going to be the one that does him. Even when Donald Trump loses, he somehow wins. Now, I think this is serious. I don't think that people can trivialize what has happened. I think that this is a momentous occasion for American justice, for American politics, for the Constitution of the United States of America. But for all that, I think that Donald Trump will turn this into a fundraising opportunity. The deep state, Joe Biden, his criminalized Justice Department was out to get me. That's what he'll be saying to his supporters. And he'll be raising a ton of money tonight. And he will present himself now as the victim of a rotten system. And that is the way he will seek to frame it. And because so many people fear Donald Trump, there will be plenty who will go along with that.
Jon, stay with us if you would for a moment. I want to play you what Donald Trump has been saying in response to this ruling. He's been speaking outside the New York courtroom in the last few minutes. Here he is.
It's a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man. And it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win. because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess.
Jon Sopel, your reaction?
Well, I kind of sort of predicted it. It's exactly what I thought he would say, and that's the fundraising message. And in MAGA land, that is exactly what they will believe, that it was a conflicted trial, that Trump lent on the district attorney to bring this case. Actually, I think that this was the kind of all the four cases, the four separate indictment charges, criminal charges that he faces, this was the least serious, but it's the only one that's come to trial. And I think that, there's a good argument to say that the district attorney who brought this case, Alvin Bragg, thought it would never come to court, that there would be other bigger cases that would come to court. It has come to court. And as I say, 12 men and women have listened to the evidence, have made their judgment, and found him guilty on all counts. And that becomes problematic. You can rail as much as you like against the Justice Department, which has no part in this prosecution. You can rail about Joe Biden, who had no part in this prosecution. It was not a federal offense. It was brought by a New York court. And there's an important distinction. These were not federal charges. These were state charges that have been brought. And Donald Trump has been found guilty. But that is not the way he will seek to frame the argument in the days and weeks going forward.
Jon, just lastly, you spent years watching Donald Trump up close. Do you think this will bother him on a personal level? Do you think he'll mind?
Yes, of course he'll mind. Donald Trump is an incredibly vain man, but he's also got a sense that poor me, I am being persecuted. He is narcissistic. He is needy. He wants attention. And he wants people to love him. And particularly, he wants people to love him in New York, where he grew up and never felt he was quite accepted. He's got the most complicated relationship, for example, with the New York Times. This will sting. He is the first president in American history to have a criminal conviction. He's also the first president to be, faced two charges when he was president. So, I think that this is a terrible situation for Donald Trump. But will he try to turn it to advantage? You bet he will.
Of course he will. That's what he does. Jon, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Jon Sopel, co-presenter of the global podcast, The News Agents and The News Agents USA.